RingVille episode Vincent Michaels.
Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Kevin Herrera Sanchez, KHS, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with the son of wrestling, Vincent Michaels. How are you doing today?
I'm here. I'm the son. You wanted me here for a reason. Let's talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, first things. Why do you call yourself the son of wrestling?
I call myself the son of wrestling because I have a mentality in life that you have to be bigger than yourself. You always have to reach for something greater than where you are in the moment. And for me, the son isn't about what I actually am doing now, but what I want to achieve. And I can't lie, I'm a very outspoken guy. I've got a bag of chips on my shoulder, right? And everyone in wrestling says that, oh, you can't have an ego, you can't have an ego. And when people come to me and they hear that I call myself the center of everything, and they say, well, man, you sure have an ego on you. And I'm like, oh, and you don't? Really? Like, that's what this whole business is built on, is egos. Hate to say it, sorry to say it, that's just how it is. So you want to talk about what makes me the son of wrestling? I am everything that wrestling represents. I am a fan, I am a wrestler, I am a performer, I am an athlete. And when you talk about putting the chips down and figuring out what makes wrestling what it is today, or even more than that, you look at people like me, Vincent Michaels. And that's why I am the son, I am the center of everything. I am everything, the son of wrestling.
There you go, you heard it here.
So I started off a little hot.
No, it's fine, you know.
30 seconds in, I'm sweating.
Talk your shit. It's fine, talk your shit. So that is something I wanted to talk about with you, where you like to poke fun at people, right? And I don't know if troll is the right word, but there's definitely some trolling on your end. Like, where did this start?
You know, it's crazy. I've never heard the word troll until today, believe it or not. I'm a big idea guy. And I feel like if you're going to be a success in any field, you have to broaden your horizons and you have to open yourself up mentally to all of these different ideas that can just fall into your lap at a moment's notice. If I was going to wrestle you, right, and I didn't know a thing about you, what would I do? I would look you up. I would study your matches, I would listen to your promos and interviews, and I would see what makes you tick. And more importantly than that, if I want to be a good bad guy, I want to figure out what cheap shots I can take at you, because at the end of the day, that's what makes wrestling wrestling. Like, is that so hard to understand for people? I don't not appreciate the troll line, but it is, I think, the wrong impression of what I intend to do. I go and I take cheap shots at people because that's what they are, cheap shots. And in a way, it's kind of a litmus test for me to figure out, okay, who's going to figure out what I'm doing mentally, start to work with me a little bit, and see if there's something that can come up from it. And then sometimes people are just going to be bitches. Oh, why could you say that about me? This is my Instagram, my comments are a safe space. I get that entirely, but if we're in the same line of work, you have to understand that I'm doing everything I can do to make sure that I can succeed in my role. And if you're not willing to do the same, maybe you're in the wrong business.
Maybe. So, what are your thoughts on people who say they're bad guys or heels, right? But then they like to be cheered?
You know, everyone's got their own lane, right? Wrestling is an open book of interpretation. You can take anyone however you want to be. So if you're a bad guy that decides that deep down he's fighting for something greater than himself, I get that, because that's a very common character motivation in a lot of our favorite bad guys in history.
Right.
I am a bad guy's bad guy. People may love to watch me, but if I walk out of a ring after a match and the people aren't just as up there to see me have gotten my ass kicked the same way they cheered when I made my entrance, I think I've done a poor job. My goal as a heel in wrestling is to make my babyface the babyface. because it's a lot harder to be liked than hated. And I've learned that the hard way. I grew up, I was bullied. I was, ostracized for being overweight, for being a wrestling fan, for being all of these, things that, pretty rapidly start to pile up on you.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually you figure out, the common cliche is that the only way to defeat a joke is to laugh at yourself, right? If someone makes fun of you, you laugh with the bully, suddenly they can't make that joke about you anymore.
You take away the power.
Right. So if people in or out of the business in real life have decided that they don't like me or they don't like what I'm about, great. I'm going to give you people exactly what you want from me. That all goes back to the egocentric side of me. That all goes back to what I represent as a real life personality and a wrestler. If you don't fuck with me, I don't want to fuck with you. And that's perfectly fine because I can do that and still be more successful in this line of work and in real life than you ever will be sitting there booing me or telling me to go fuck myself. Whatever you want to do, I can rock with it because I am simply better than you.
You're cooking, man.
I'm cooking.
You're cooking with oil.
I'm sweating. Not yet.
No. So, who are some of your favorite bad guys?
Who really first grabbed me when I got into wrestling and started watching back tapes was Scott Hall. Because he was the quintessential bad guy.
Right.
But he was so goddamn cool in a weird way. Even though you liked him for being a bad guy, that didn't stop him from being a complete asshole.
Right.
Like, Scott Hall was rooted in being a bad man with bad man motivations, and it didn't matter whether you liked him or not because it wasn't going to keep him from flicking his toothpick into your eyeball, right?
Right.
If we want to go with more modern examples, it's not really so much modern, but I still love what Bully Ray is doing. I know a lot of people aren't going to like a Bully Ray compliment, and Bully, for some reason, if you hear this, I love you, brother. But he came up in that real different grassroots type thing of, and sorry, not just him, but Devon especially. I only name Bubba because he's still going today in a singles capacity. But the Dudleys going out there, whether it was ECW or WWF or WWE or TNA, and they were just guys that you just didn't want to like.
Right.
There was just something about the attitudes, there was something about the way that they talked to you that you just didn't want to fuck with them. And they reveled in it, and they would tell you to your face how much of a horrible person you were, despite paying your hard-earned money to tell them how much they suck. And you kept paying your money to keep coming back and tell them that over and over again because you wanted to see the Dudleys get their asses kicked.
Yep.
And then what happens one day? They flip the script, and suddenly they're the ones that you want to see do all the ass kicking. I don't know if that's in my future, but when you want to talk about what I look to for being the quintessential bad guy, that's who I look at. I look at The Miz for the really modern example, and that's more in the sense of, like, as an athlete, The Miz can lose 1,000,001 matches, come out on TV the next week, call you a couple of names, and you're right back to wanting him to lose match 1,000,002.
Yep.
Because the matches don't matter. They're important, but The Miz is The Miz because of who he is, not just what he's doing.
Right. That's pretty controversial. The matches don't matter. Like, you don't... In what sense?
Listen, I know that we're all sports fanatics in some way, right? I'm personally not a sports guy. I don't watch hockey, I don't watch football, I don't watch baseball. If you ask me what basketball team plays in New York, I'm like, I don't know, the Celtics?
Oh, no, you gonna get people mad.
Right, I don't know. So coming from that perspective of things, I look at what draws people to a team or to a franchise or to a particular athlete. You can say that it's because, he scores off the charts in whatever sport he's in, or because maybe this team, has won X amount of championships. But at the end of the day, you watch sports for a performance. You watch sports because wins and losses definitely are part of the matter.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, who's an athlete? If Michael Jordan doesn't, flick his tongue out when he makes that shot, whatever it's called. This is really to the extent I don't know anything about these things. But you get where I'm going with this.
Do, yeah.
It is about the pizzazz, it is about the charisma, it is about everything that gets you to the point of winning. I'm not saying you can lose every time, because you have people, like I said, that can do that. Like, obviously, you want to win.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's not about wanting to win, it's about recognizing that you don't have to. You can lose a battle and still win the war, especially in wrestling when everyone is what? A character. What are my motivations? What are my opponent's motivations? Yeah. If he wants to win and I'm just out there to hurt him, then maybe I'll just hit him with a freaking chair. There, he gets his win, I get what I want, and doesn't that make everybody happy? No, it makes me a terrible wrestler. Right? And that's the psychology of it all, really, in my opinion.
Right. Because it ties into, you did an interview with Wrestling with Entertainment, and
love those guys. If you guys hear this, have me on again, please.
Shout out to them. Great interview. You said a line where, and you said this multiple times, but you hate wrestling.
I do.
What do you mean by that?
You just have to let me take the reins here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love wrestling.
Okay.
Right? But in life, there are two sides to everything. We all walk that fine line between, you wake up in the morning and it's like, what side of the bed are you going to wake up on? Are you going to have a great day or a bad day? And there's really no in between for how that's going to work. You have a very successful show here.
Oh, thank you.
Right? I'd like to think so. If I'm on it, it's got to be successful. I'm sure you have your days, though, where surely you must wake up and say, man, this sucks. Everything sucks. Things aren't going the way I want them to go. Maybe I'm not getting the amount of buzz I want to get. Maybe my sound guy is a piece of shit, right? I don't know how you're feeling on a given day, but these are all legitimate qualms that you are going to have to roll with at any given time to make this what it is for people like me to have a platform to be on.
Right.
I can love and hate wrestling in that same way. But at the end of the day, it's all about choosing what is going to motivate me the most. And if you couldn't tell already by some of my prior answers, I am a real different kind of guy. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to be like, yeah, I'm on a real roll right now. Let's see where we can carry this momentum from here. No, I do things out of spite. I do things out of anger. And I do things out of hatred. Because that is what motivates me. Because that's what's motivated me my entire life. As much as I appreciate the people that look me in the eye and try to tell me that, hey, you can do something if you put your mind to it, I have just as much admiration for the people that tell me, fuck you, you don't deserve it, you shouldn't be here, go the fuck home. Because what does that do? That lights a fire under the sun's ass. And that's what gets me where I need to be successful in this business. And so when you ask me why I say I hate wrestling, I think everyone hates wrestling, at least a little bit. I think the people that are too afraid to admit it, they don't really understand why they hate it. But you hate it because you love it. You hate it because you want it to be better. You hate it because you want yourself to do better. And that's why I say the things I say.
No. I can see where you're coming from for sure, right? Because there are some things where it's like, oh, I wish they would have done that differently. Or it's like, maybe if this match had a different result, right? And it's like you hold wrestling to an expectation that sometimes it just cannot meet.
Nope.
And it's like, you end up disappointed, but who disappointed you? Did the company or wrestler disappoint you, or did you just disappoint yourself?
Everybody disappoints me. I share locker rooms with people that I wish would never step foot in a wrestling ring. I work for promoters. I say to myself, you know, why do you do this? Why do you put yourself through this? They might be good-hearted people, and they pay me to come and do a job and provide a service that I'm happy to provide for them. But at the end of the day, I see what this business does to those kind of people. Some of them, not all.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, guys, what are we doing here? Wrestling fans, terrible people.
Not all of them. But the loudest people.
No.
No, you don't think so?
I think that is a real misconception because a loud wrestling fan, you know what you're going to get, right? You're going to get a lot of ignorance. You're going to get a lot of blatant stupidity. But it's the quiet people that you don't even notice that I think are the ones that really, they're so rooted in their own, I'm trying to verbalize it right now. There's something in your brain that makes you a wrestling fan. And when you get out of that and get into being a wrestler, and this is why I talk about walking a fine line, because I still try to do both. I'm sure that's going to come up at some point in this interview. But I walk a fine line between someone that still tries to enjoy wrestling for what it is as a spectacle, and then someone that also tries to delve into the business side of things.
Right.
And having explored both of those mediums now, being the quiet type of fan is the worst because all you hear is the stupid people, right? And I think that there's definitely a trickle-down effect of people that get influenced, not even realizing that the stupidity they're listening to is stupidity to begin with, and I think that's dangerous. I think the casual fans are the most impressionable, and they're the ones that we actually need to educate more to get to the right side of where things should be going with the business.
What's the right side for you?
That's a very complicated question to ask me. I don't know if there's a right answer. Because I'm sure everyone in their own mind has a perfect idea of what the wrestling business should be. And I mean, you know, I hate to say it and I hate to bring it up in an interview like this that's so lighthearted and based around me. But when you look at what goes on, even, you know, some of the news that comes out from WWE and things like that in the last little while, it lets you know that even the biggest platforms in the world for this profession where people can go and make the most money and have the most success and be as great as they can be, even that comes with a lot of negativity.
Right.
So I really don't know if there's a right answer. I hate to say it. I think in a perfect world, pro wrestling would just have to die.
Oh.
I know that that's drastic. But really at the end of the day, I think that pro wrestling is at its root a carny business ran by an underbelly of very seedy people. And at the end of the day, there are only so many kind-hearted people. But the kind-hearted people, because they are so righteous, it's hard to get those kind of people in power, right? Because really, what's the vocal majority? The stupidity.
Hot take for sure. Hot take for sure.
Might have to cut that one.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. But let's go back to when you were talking about walking the fine line of being a fan and then being somewhere in the business, right? Because you do go to a bunch of wrestling shows. Like WrestleMania 40, 39, right? You went to SummerSlam, Clash at the Castle.
I've been to every WrestleMania since 24.
Since 20.
I had to miss 31. Ironically, where my coach cashed in, I had to miss that one because of personal issues. But I've been to every WrestleMania since. For anyone familiar with those cool take-home chairs that you get at the end of a pay-per-view event, I am well into over 100 of those chairs in my house. If that speaks to what I have done over my teenage and adult life now, going to shows.
It does.
I've been to I tried to come up with a rough estimate a little while ago. I'm pretty sure we're in the 350 to 400 range of WWE shows.
That you've been to.
TVs, pay-per-views, house shows, sprinkle in some AEW here and there, some TNA, but yeah.
That's insane. That's, if you think about it, that's like a show every day of a year, for a year straight.
There was a WWE magazine I still think back to, and it featured this one bit where it was 101 things every WWE fan should do before they die.
Okay.
And in there was a picture of the famous sign guy, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, red cap guy. Rick, if you're watching this, you're a good friend of mine. I miss you. I don't see you as often as I used to. And I looked at that, 11-year-old me looked at that and said, I want to do that. Go to every, whatever it was, every show in a calendar year, right? Which is actually absurdly impossible unless I was just like, if Mr. Beast became a wrestling fan, full on, like I'm sure he could do it if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
And probably somehow find a way to make money on the endeavor, by the way.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast, if you ever need an idea guy, I'm your man. But yeah, so I've been to a lot of shows.
Yeah. You mentioned your coach, right? Because you were part of the 22nd graduating class of wrestling school Black and Brave.
Correct.
Which is run by WWE superstar Seth Rollins.
Former world heavyweight champion,
and indie legend Marek Brave.
Yes.
Right? That school is in Ohio.
Iowa.
I'm sorry. Call myself. But, right? And you're from the East Coast.
I live in New Jersey, yeah.
Right. So what was the process like for you of like deciding, okay, I want to travel all the way to Iowa just to like, well, not just, but, you know, focus on your craft?
So I'm actually really glad you followed up the show, the bit about me going to shows with this, because the pandemic hit and obviously I had no more shows to go to.
Right.
And I was gracious enough to have a steady job through the whole pandemic that kept me making pretty decent money. And suddenly I didn't have an outlet to spend it on. I wasn't traveling, I wasn't going to shows, right? At this point I was in a real formula in my life. Go to work, make some money. Always had wrestling in the back of my mind as like that one day thing.
Yeah.
But had no intention to act on it. Maybe a little bit. I was really starting to find my groove in fitness and going to the gym right when the pandemic hit, and then that kind of sent everything downhill again. Right. But besides that, you know, my girlfriend, who is from England, and so at the time we're still dealing with a long distance relationship. You know, we were just talking one night, and she kind of just threw it at me. It's like, you know what? I think it's time. I think it's time to actually take that money you're saving up and actually, right? If you're ever gonna make a go of it, you know, at the time I was 25 years old, and it was just like, now's the right time. And it was like, right, there's only one place to go. Because if you're me and you want to be a success in wrestling, I don't want to say that this is the only place for people to go. No. But in my mind, with the background that I have, looking for the destinations that I wanted to make my destinations, it's like, who's the go-to guy in the wrestling business for training? And that's Seth freaking Rollins. Absolutely. And I love you, Marek. If you ever hear this, fuck you. I love you.
So, okay, so you go there, right? After the pandemic, what's the situation like over there? Like, what's the training regimen like? Like, what do they instill in you? Like, how do they introduce wrestling to you?
So I can't go blow for blow really into the itinerary, because at the end of the day, that's what people go there to spend their money on for that experience. Which, by the way, if you, free plug here, if you want to be a pro wrestler, whether you are trained to wrestle already or not, Black and Brave Wrestling Academy will do everything for you and then some to take you to that next level. Again, it doesn't matter if you're already a wrestler or looking to break in for the first time. They will instill in you everything that you need to be a success in this business. Black and Brave Academy. I think right now their signups are already full through like the end of next year. I think they're taking 2026 applications. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was another thing too. When I applied, because it was the pandemic, applications were real slow. So I applied in spring of 2020 and got accepted a year later, which I was very gracious for. But the generalization of what they instill in you as a wrestler is, Colby Lopez has a.
Seth Rollins.
I'm sorry. First name basis there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Seth instills in us an ideology that everyone has their own path in life.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you are only as good as you want to be. So Black and Brave is all about giving us all the tools and putting us in a position to take and make whatever we want out of them. We had 8 people in our graduating class, and I believe only 4 or 5 of us have done anything involving wrestling since the day we all graduated. So right then and there are 3 people that went the distance, did all 12 weeks of bumping, of rolls, of drills, of burpees. Oh my God, the burpees. I learned to love them, but man, are they brutal. Having your first matches in that ring, in a WWE ring. The ring that we have in the gym is the ring from Money in the Bank 2011.
Oh, and those are 20 by 20 rings. Those are big boys.
Yes, but that famous CM Punk John Cena Chicago Money in the Bank 2011 ring. That's the one that we have in the gym.
That's insane, actually.
So
that's cool.
There are 3 people from my class that wrestled their first matches in that ring, graduated, and decided this still ain't for me, which says a lot. But at the end of the day, there is no judgment from that perspective because everyone has their own path.
Right. If it's not for you, it's not for you, right?
Right. And I decided that this was going to be for me no matter what the scenario was. If I wasn't graduated, I would have paid to go again. Because that is the process. If you quit or make it through and don't get the tagline of graduate, you're not allowed to use the school name in your advertising, bios, whatever you want to use to put yourself out there. So if that didn't happen for me, I would have gone back again because at that point, it's all about spite, right? It's all about you tell me I can't do something, well, I'm going to come back and make it happen. But I was very gracious enough to be given a pass, and I really don't even think I should have, to be fair. He, I think, saw something in me where my background as a super fan, I think, gives me that bit of an enlightened perspective into how wrestling works, more so than just your average person getting in a ring for a first time and not really understanding how to go about, how to put matches together, right? The psychology of how to do and say certain things at certain times. I think he saw a little of that in me, and just assuming, but I think that he thinks that I'm capable of being something more than what I am now, right? Because I have, if nothing else, I may not have talent, but I sure should have ambition. And ambition can carry you a long way, and man, hate is a hell of a motivator.
It is, absolutely. So, it's funny because I was looking through your Instagram, and you have a picture where you're posing in front of CM Punk. And
I was at the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yeah, the Raw after
Yes,
Mania, right? And it's like, are you a big CM Punk fan?
Love CM Punk.
Right?
Used to be straight edge because of him.
Oh, really?
Boy, did that drop off quick.
So it's like your coach is Seth Rollins. And there's beef there. There's no kind of issues there with that.
At the end of the day, kind of like how I worded it before, CM Punk is a very divisive person. Yep. You either love him or you hate him, but you talk about him.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, I think that he's got my coach a little rattled, just a little bit. Yeah. He's got Drew McIntyre really rattled, lives in your head rent-free, Drew McIntyre. Oh my God, get over yourself. kilt wearing freak. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. Maybe it's because he unfortunately beat my coach at WrestleMania for the world title.
That's fair. There's
But then lost in like 5 minutes, yo, loser punk. Speaking of loser punks, sorry, Phil Brooks. No, you know, see, this is the fun thing about CM Punk. You can hate on him or you can put him on a pedestal, and either way, the man doesn't change. There was this great little snippet from Raw this past Monday. I don't know if you saw, that was on the Instagram Reels feed. He was between, when he was going from being up in the skybox talking to Drew to where he went to the ring, he came across a fan that had a sign. It was like a 10-year-old girl had a sign that said CM Punk is poop.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's awesome. Let me autograph that for you. And that's what you have to love about CM Punk.
Right.
He doesn't care. And a lot of people don't care. John Cena doesn't care either whether fans boo or cheer him. But John Cena manages to do it and express that in a very righteous, wholesome manner. Right. CM Punk can also be very wholesome, but also very righteous. Very self-absorbed, and honestly, kind of a douchebag. But what's the great thing about douchebags? You can still love to hate them, or you can just straight up love them. And so CM Punk to Seth Rollins, I think they're two sides of the same coin. I think it's about egos, it's about personalities. Maybe their egos are like this, but honestly, I think their personalities are like this. I think that they play off each other so well. It's a shame they didn't get to wrestle at WrestleMania this year. I'm sure it's going to happen, and when it happens, guess what? I'm probably going to be front row for it, and you're not.
Is CM Punk in your top 5?
Probably not.
No?
No, probably not. I don't know if I really have a top 5. I really try to like everybody because everyone has their own place. Which also, side diatribe, I think is also a really important thing when you're learning to get into the business of wrestling. You have to know your role, right? If I'm opening match, if I'm third match on an indie show, and I'm given 6 minutes, I know my role isn't to go out there and steal the show. I can do some cool stuff, but my role isn't to do cool stuff as a heel or if I'm third match on the card. So I think when it comes to just getting in there, it's like, you know, I love Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo because they're a great middle-of-the-road athletic tag team, right? Okay. They go and they do exactly what they're supposed to do. Hope they get elevated, obviously, right? They're both so talented. They're capable of so much more.
They're amazing.
But an important thing about being elevated is proving that you can do what you're supposed to do in your current role. Like, you know, if I hire you to be the mailroom clerk at an office, and you say to yourself, well, I deserve to be the manager. I'm going to walk in and start dictating orders to my superiors because I think that I should be above them. That's not going to get you anywhere. It's just going to make you look like an obnoxious asshole, and who wants that in the workplace? And I think wrestling works the same way. Obviously, it's about, you know, performance is performance, but you can perform and you can still make sure to stay in your lane and to not only give the people what they want, but also give your boss what they want. Right. Because they're just as important. They're the one paying you, right? Right. Absolutely. You know, if you're not giving them what they want out of you, why are they paying you? And that's just kind of how I see it in that regard. But sorry, back to the top 5 stuff. I really don't have like, do you want me to name, like, if I can give a rough...
I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to, right? But it's like, because I do get what you mean, right? It's like you appreciate for people where they are, right? And it's like there's something to love from everyone.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, some people are kind of just meant to be where they are. Like John Cena is top 3, probably number 1, depending on what time of the day you ask me, because only John Cena can be John Cena. Right. For John Cena's life and the way he lives his life. Yeah. So, right? Does that make sense?
No, I get what you mean. I absolutely get what you mean. Yeah. Because it's also like, you know, it's like in like an orchestra band, right? Not everybody can be the lead person.
Exactly.
Some person is just kind of banging the triangle, the drums, and it's like that doesn't mean they're not good or great. It's just that's who they are right now.
Exactly. People, I'm not going to name names.
Mm-hmm.
I promise this is my last kind of aside on this topic, but it actually plays into it really well. I've had people, I'm not going to name them, but if you listen to this, you know who you are, that have come up to me and say, man, your gimmick is a main event act.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you doing more with your opportunities? That's a verbatim quote.
Mm.
Or actually, no, it's why are you blowing all your opportunities?
Mm.
At the end of the day, if I can take something that allegedly is a main event act, and don't get me wrong, it is a main event act. I'm not trying to downplay myself here. But it is my job to take that act and make it whatever the promoter wants it to be, right? You know, your top guys, you know, The Rock did main event every single pay-per-view in 1999.
Right.
Sometimes he just had to be The Rock sitting in the upper mid-card feuding with Billy Gunn at SummerSlam, right?
Right.
And that's fine because you can still be who you are and still serve all those purposes. And that's what I mean when I talk about staying in your lane, but do your job, do it efficiently where you're supposed to do it, and the sun will rise.
Yeah, nice. I like that. The sun will rise. You've also posted about being on a weight loss journey. You look amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Of course. When did that start? You said after the pandemic, right?
So this goes back a long time. You know, back to middle school and high school. You know, I was what I would call, you know, morbidly obese.
Okay.
The heaviest I ever weighed was 330 pounds. My issue was so much that, right, you see heavy set people that carry their weight pretty damn well, and I didn't. A majority of my weight was housed in my upper body. So
Okay.
big belly, big chest, big arms. Legs never really carried a lot of weight. Because of that, my knees are actually doing really bad right now.
Oh.
Wrestling was the worst profession for me to get in. My back is shot, my knees are terrible. I've sprained both ankles since I got into wrestling, right? But yeah, the journey really started coming out of college. No, high school going into college, honestly. Great side story. Have never told this one in an interview. This is an exclusive here.
Oh, nice. Thanks.
It was after WrestleMania 30 in 2014, and I was staying in the Wrestlers Hotel, as you can imagine, right? Trying to meet everyone I could, because that's what I did. And I ran into John Cena Sr., and I've had a good rapport with John Cena for many years, right? Going to shows. I've seen him all over the place, talked to him about a lot of stuff. The time I ran into his dad, and right, his dad had, I guess, just undergone a big weight loss type of journey, and he did it through this fitness program that John had just started. It was called Change Time.
Okay.
Right. It was a, a subscription thing with meal planning and all that type of jazz. And his dad starts telling me that I should get in on it, and I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. Like I hadn't heard of it yet at the time; it was still brand new. And he says, I'll do this for you. This was whatever it was, the first week of April 2014. He said, Money in the Bank is coming to Boston at whatever it was, mid or the end of July.
Right.
If you can lose 50 pounds using this program, I will bring you and your mom as my personal guests and get us front row comped to Money in the Bank in Boston.
Whoa.
Because it's John Cena's dad, and of course he has that hookup. And I didn't lose 50 pounds. I lost 62 pounds.
62.
Right? Because I really just homed in on that, as you can imagine.
No,
right?
absolutely.
Boy, you want to talk about a motivator? There's hate, there's love, and then there's free tickets to a pay-per-view. Right, another chair for the collection at no cost.
Right.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I did all that, and then from there everything was kind of a roller coaster. From that, you put on some weight, you lose some weight. I really wasn't ready physically for Black and Brave when I got there.
Okay.
And then I got a bit of an elbow injury. I actually can't fully straighten this arm.
This is the most it goes?
Yeah, I'm assuming the camera can probably pick that up. So when that happened, I wasn't able to lift weights at all. I wasn't cleared to lift because I had to just focus on getting my arms straightened without risking tearing any muscle or anything like that. I thought there might have been bone chips. I don't know. I've done every procedure you can think of. I have no idea what's wrong with this arm. It's just stuck like this forever.
But it doesn't hurt, no.
If I try to push it, yeah, but like I've got clearance to wrestle and lift weights and all that jazz. So at that time, I got even more honed in on just the excessive CrossFit cardio that they put you through. And that's another big part of the school as well. Outside of wrestling, if you want to learn about fitness and the right way to go about fitness, man, like again I said, they don't call him CrossFit Jesus for nothing. Right? Seth Rollins is the king of cardio and getting you to a point where your body can withstand anything inside or outside of a wrestling ring. So I get really dialed in on the cardio. I really lost that last bit of like what I would call like, you know, above average like fat excess that I had. Yeah. And then from there going into 2022, I just really found my love in the gym for what it means to, you know, put on healthy size and start lifting weights and just get real excessive about bodybuilding and, you know, a great fitness, a meal prep, things like that, right? And just along those lines, you know, the journey it's been a journey. Because it wasn't really rooted in like one particular frame of time. It's been years and years of work and struggle and falling off and getting back up. And again, you know, you want to say that it's motivation, but that motivation for me is getting in there and thinking about what I used to be and hating it and hating myself and body dysmorphia and saying that I'm coming in here today not for anyone else. I'm coming in here for myself. People want to give me a pat on the back. Good for you. But I don't need it because I'm not a very codependent person in that regard because I don't need to rely on anyone else for my own happiness and my own well-being.
Yeah, that's true. You rely on yourself. So what was the diet plan like for you?
So the thing about, I don't like to call it a diet, really.
Okay.
I think, because, I mean, with everything, you know, it's really about a lifestyle change.
Okay.
I'll make this story pretty short and sweet. I was raised Italian, right? What's the ideology of, like, the old school Italian family? You know, I'll clean your plate if you want some more. Yeah. So I would do that. And I would do it again. And I would do it again. And I would do it again. And I'd be eating so fast, my body wouldn't feel full, and I was just shoveling food down my throat because it tasted so good. Yeah. You know, like a pack of like chicken cutlets you can get at a grocery store, right? I'd go through 2 of those for dinner. And that's just one meal of one day. Yeah. With the breading and everything like that. Like that was my problem. Yeah. And then you think about every other type of food you could possibly eat. Again, you know, same process, right? If it's a bacon, egg, and cheese for breakfast, I'm having 2 of them. If it's cold cuts on a roll for lunch, I'm having a hero sandwich, right? Now imagine all of those things in one day. It's brutal. So what can I do to minimize that? For me, it's all about portion control, right? So I really, to this day, don't egregiously eat outside of my means what I enjoy off like average food, right? If I need to cut back a little bit here or there on the, you know, the carbs or whatever, cut out some bread here, some pasta, I can do that. Don't have as much pizza, whatever on the weekend, right? But from a general standing, I really don't eat any differently than I used to. I just eat less of it. And that was really my problem. So for anyone out here listening that might not understand what it takes to start losing weight and think that you have to give up everything that you love about food, you don't have to do that. You just have to realize that you have patterns that are unhealthy and you have to break them. And it's not about what you put in your body, it's more so about when and how often you're putting it in your body.
I get that. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm full. But I know if I give myself a little good 5 minutes, I wouldn't eat no more.
Yeah.
But in those 5 minutes, I eat a little more, and then they're like, oh, it's too much.
It's actually sick. It's sick to think about what you used to be like, and then be like, man, how did I ever let myself get to that point? Same mentality as being a wrestling fan, right? When I see the horribly stupid things people post on social media now, whether it's tribalism, whatever, and I think back and I'm like, God, did I used to be like that? Like those people?
Yeah.
And that's where like that hate of wrestling fans can come from as well. It's like, it's just a lot of self-reflection.
Right. What are some goals you have for yourself in wrestling?
I don't have goals.
You don't have goals?
Whatever is destined for me will come with time.
Okay. So you'll just go as you go. Whatever comes to you will come to you.
I understand the idea of wanting to manifest something, but at the end of the day, you could only do so much. There's so many outside factors, right? There are people that go out there, wrestle for 10 to 15 years, have no success to speak of, decide to open up an independent promotion and put a belt on themselves. Because they never, I want to have a belt. I never got to win a belt. And again, that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything against that. But that manifestation of sorts is something that I really just don't fuck with. If people want to put a belt on me, that's an amazing feeling. And knowing that I got there without even having to think in that direction, right? I see it as a real story of success. I have to give you one. I guess I have to say just like having an entrance at WrestleMania. And again, I'm not even saying match. I'm saying an entrance.
Just an entrance.
The matches don't matter. For anyone that's ever watched my entrance, I put my all into that shit.
He does.
I am about the production. I'm about the lights. I'm about the music. Because at the end of the day, it's a vibe. And when you go out there, for any independent wrestler listening that thinks that your shitty gym playlist you listen to makes a good entrance song, you are so wrong. And I laugh when you go through the curtain and you throw your hands up and you are shocked when no one makes a peep for any of you. Because you don't get it. Because you can go in the ring and have as great of a match as you want to have. If the people don't care about you walking in, they're not going to care about you walking out. Period.
There you go. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure was all yours.
Oh, of course, sure. All right, next time, everyone. Thank you.